During the meeting, many steps to help James are agreed. However, when the discussion turns to steps the housing association can take, things become difficult.
Okay, well, how does that sound in terms of the health plan? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, the nurse is coming on. It's good.
And you'll make sure that you're in when she calls?
Yeah, we can arrange for that.
Yeah, we'll be okay now. Look together.
Are you alright with that?
Nice and
Does
smooth.
that make things a bit better? Okay. Well, we also want to hear from the Housing Association. I know you were going to look into the possibilities of who's living there. Do you have any more information about that?
Yes, I've been anticipating this because I'm aware that you would like us to move James's neighbour, and it's certainly something we would consider if it was an option available to us, but unfortunately it is not an option. There are no other places.
Well, you're the one that put her, the drug addict, in there with vulnerable people,
come on,
and you need to move her.
Well, as I say,
No.
I can't comment on the specifics of this case, but I can say that we would consider the options if they were available to us. There are
just
no
shut
other
up.
options.
Shall we use
You
talent?
got yourself into this mess, I'm getting yourself out of it.
There's no need to be up with bloody
Yeah.
face all the time.
Okay.
In this scene, James is having difficulty being heard by his sister. As she is the person likely to have the longest continuing relationship with James, it is important that ways be found to support communication between them. What should the social worker do at this point? Take a moment to pause the video and consider, what issues do you see arising at this step in the process? How would you respond to them sensitively? Here are some thoughts from others developing policy in adult support and protection.
In an ideal case conference, it would probably have been useful to have heard James's views without his sister there, and then bring his sister in. Or hear his sister's views without James there, and then bring them in. Maybe manage that a little bit better, so that you were clear about where each of them were at with their views.
I found that very informal and very small. You know, there was only a little round table, which was nice. People were sort of in touching distance, so that wouldn't be that threatening. And also, it seemed very informal, whereas ours are probably more formal than that. And the thing I liked about the case conference, I must say, is that the answers weren't easy. You know, it wasn't as if the housing officer said, "I'm going to move that person." It said, "That's not possible." So sometimes it's actually living with some of those difficult things too. So I quite like that. I actually quite liked it when the housing officer said, "You know, that's not going to be possible at the moment because there's just no other accommodation." And sometimes you move the problem anyway. So I actually quite like that. I thought that was quite realistic in some way.
And actually, what you're doing when you move your deck chairs around is you're not empowering the person, because the person will move to another house, and invariably the research is starting to tell us that the same thing will happen, because they may look vulnerable and they may attract some people who are likely to exploit or pick up on something like that. So actually your focus should be on strengthening the person's resilience and resolve to stay where they are, but to manage their own behaviours, get insight into. When you have a situation like this, the attention goes to moving the problem rather than addressing it and assessing it. So what you do, you've got housing people there and immediately thinking of bricks and mortar, move them. Move him, and if you can't move the drug addict, move my brother, type of thing. And that's not going to be a workable solution 9 times out of 10. But it's something, I think, that we're all humanly drawn to doing, sort of a bricks and mortar response. Move the deck chairs round and we'll get rid of it rather than actually look at the problem.
To be perfectly honest, talking in formal meetings can actually be quite daunting.
Very.
I mean, even those of us that actually deal with it all the time sometimes find it quite daunting. So there is a thing about what can we do to make meetings. I mean, we still need those people there, but what can we do to actually make it easier? And it's very hard to actually know.
And nice as the person feels comfortable to.
Would it help if the meeting was in the person's own home?
Yes,
That's actually what I would call a comfortable ground,
Yeah,
not
yeah, because it's on your ground rather than
Yes,
somebody
yeah.
else's.
Mm.
Yeah.
and I think that's where sometimes social work fall down. Like, they pick the ground that they're comfortable in, but what about the one that's been spoken? It's not comfortable for them.
I suppose it will also depend about who sort of lives in the house and whether it's family. But yeah, that's true.
People who access services who contributed to our research had these suggestions. Information discussed at the meeting shouldn't be a surprise to the person. They should have this in an accessible format with time to consider it beforehand. It is important that the meeting is relaxed with opportunities and resources to make this possible. Pace and style of meeting should be flexible with breaks if needed. The person may not want to ask for breaks as they may be afraid to indicate they can't cope. Consider holding meetings where it's easiest for the person to work through what is happening. For some, it may be better to have case conferences go to them or be placed within their normal use of services, such as at a medical centre if this is what the person chooses. Person-centred planning can bring discussions to life and keep a focus on the person's values, goals and abilities, and can be incorporated into planning that takes place in the meeting. Creative methods such as use of photos or objects, taking another person's point of view and mapping the journey can help people talk about what really matters and deepen understanding. These methods allow everyone around the table to access a wider range of means of expression. They are good tools to consider using in the meeting.